Okay, hello and good evening. Welcome to next episode. I think this one is number 8, so we are 8 months with Jay already. So eight
Really? Okay.
releases, yeah,
Wow.
number 8. So we are actually doing it,
Yeah,
and
sorry for interrupting. I think it's more than that because we had a summer break, to be fair.
could be, yeah.
We should really figure this out. When did we start and what was our first episode? Maybe we should think about that before going live. But anyway, fine.
Yeah, we'll prepare that for the next stream. Thanks for for the heads up.
but
Yeah,
but that's just 3 of us. So you already know us today with us. Great pleasure to have you, Zoe, and welcome. And can you say a few words about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Zoe Douglas, and I am a PM on the Power BI Microsoft Fabric Analysis Services team, whatever you want to call it. And the big feature that I just released is the DAX query view.
did you just say Microsoft Fabric Analysis Services team?
I did.
Okay,
It's
that sounds
multidimensional as well.
I have my Power BI Analysis
Wow.
Services, and I have my Fabric.
okay, fair enough.
You came prepared.
I came prepared.
Cool. Thanks for joining us for this stream. Yeah, it's a real pleasure to have you, especially because the latest update was full of amazing features. But the most amazing of all amazing features is, I would say, DAX view, new view in Power BI Desktop. That's the first new view that we got since Power BI Desktop launched.
I think
If
Right.
I'm
so.
correct, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
No, we got those additional tabs in a model view.
Yeah, but I mean, it's in
Those three were there from the
Yes.
beginning, and now
Yeah.
the fourth one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
it's the fourth one. Yeah. So I don't know if there's a fifth and a sixth and a seventh and the eighth in the making, but maybe not. Who knows? But yeah, it's definitely a great addition that I think makes a lot of pro users and everybody working with DAX and editing that in a more pro scenario. It makes them very happy. So yeah, it's exciting.
Can you tell us, Zoe, how it came to that feature, where idea came from, and what was the process from initial idea till we got it shipped and everybody's happy?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that even before I joined the team, right? It's something that we've always wanted to do. Um, and so, like you see like like even in the DAX scripting and tablet editor is something that, would be really, something that, from the professional BI is something that we always wanted to kind of have these kind of tools available. Right. And so when I came onto the team, there was finally, availability to actually do some of these tasks. And so that was really exciting for me in that, when I came in and I was given the opportunity to kind of build out these kind of code first experiences, like, actually having support for DAX queries in Power BI Desktop, not only through external tools. Now, DAX Studio is amazing, and so is Tabula Editor. All of the external tools are amazing, right? These are, the Power BI, the professional BI team, right? We, gave these APIs, an XML endpoint, all these really cool ways to build these tools, right? In lieu of being able to build them ourselves. And these tools are amazing. So now being able to actually have some, at this maturity level, now we actually can have some funding to actually, cater to more of the professional BI to, move in that direction and then give these DAX queries a home in Power BI Desktop is truly amazing. And it's just really the evolution as we gain maturity. And then, fantastically, happened to just kind of land at the right time to be able to, work on that effort with our engineering team and designers.
Awesome. And what do you think? Who will be the main group of users or users who will benefit from having DAX view in Power BI Desktop? Is it people who are using DAX Studio today, or maybe someone else?
Well, so right now in desktop, right, you have to have a local model, like so you're a model author. So anybody creating models in Power BI Desktop can benefit from DAX Query View. Now, if you've already used DAX Studio, you're a little bit ahead, right? So you're already familiar with the idea of a DAX query. You know about the evaluate, you know, all that kind of stuff. But also now it also enables users who maybe have been blocked from using third-party tools when they're doing their semantic model authoring, when they're using desktop and their company said, hey, we can't install this third party, you can only use Microsoft. Now they also get the ability to kind of write these DAX queries, see them. They don't have to kind of port over to SQL Server Management Studio, another Microsoft backed tool, stuff like that. I even saw there's a blog post about someone creating a calc group via PowerShell. I was like, that's pretty impressive right there. So
I mean, it's
stuff
possible.
like it is possible. It absolutely is possible. Lots of things are possible.
True.
But now we have it kind of really easily. You just click at the view, you go to Performance Analyzer, you see the view, you see the DAX queries from visuals in the DAX query view. You don't have to do these third-party tools. Now these third-party tools have been worked on for many years, right? So they're super feature rich with the DAX queries, and so we're just starting out now with the DAX query view.
Yeah, and one thing that I want to clarify. So Zoe and I are kind of like on the opposite sides of the spectrum of what our responsibilities are in the organization, and we have these. Can I call them battles? We're not really fighting. That's at least not what I'm trying to do, and not maybe Zoe feels that way. I don't know. I'll let her say that. We're working on this on the opposite side of the spectrum, right? So Zoe is adding powerful tools, and then invariably when she comes up with a great new idea, or her team or whoever from that area, but especially Zoe recently, then I always say like, well, our beginner users are not so professional users. We don't want to get in their way too much, right? So, and that's what I really like about this query view is, yes, it's there, right? There's a little icon on the side, but it's not in your face all the time, right? If you're not the part of the audience that needs this, it's not getting in your way, right? You can still get to it. For example, the entry point that is right-click on a measure to go, what is it? Evaluate and define, right? To open a DAX query view and see that is, I think, the right balance. And that's something, a stretch that we always have to find, like the right balance have to find between Zoe's world and my world, where my task is really to keep it as simple as possible, and Zoe's task is really to add as many powerful features into the mix. So there's a little bit of a balancing act going on between the two teams there, between us actually as two PMs. So that's always an interesting conversation to have.
Yeah,
I can imagine that between you guys, this balancing and preparing things that everyone can benefit, it's also some interesting part of your work.
Exactly.
Yeah, and sometimes Zoe becomes annoyed with me because I say, no, we don't want to do more buttons, right? Why are we adding more buttons to the Christmas tree? That's kind of like what I'm saying. Like, let's not add more stuff to the Christmas tree that we already have, right? And then, we
I
find
point
some
out to
middle
Jay
ground.
that Excel has 1 billion buttons, but
Is it true that you become annoyed with him? I can't believe that.
But that's the way it goes. I mean, that's the role we play. I just wanted to clarify a little bit. Like, this is like the dynamic in the team, right? We have Zoe's group, and where she works is basically like professional, powerful features. Everything needs to be built in, and we want to ramp up the professional development experience, while at the same time not disenfranchising our beginner user and alienating them and making them more confused with our tool. And that's a real challenge that we've already talked about on this live stream before. But this feature, I think, strikes the right balance there between being powerful but also not being getting in the way of the beginner user.
Exactly. And I would like to add to that, like, that is something that I think is really great about Power BI, is that you can do it. You can create these huge DAX queries, you can get really deep into it, but you actually don't have to, right? You can still just drag things onto the visual layer, create a report, and be done, right? And I think that is one of the coolest things about Power BI. It is extremely powerful, but you don't have to know all that stuff. You don't have to get into all that detail with it. And one of the things that I've started doing now that we have more of these, professional BI features coming in, more of these powerful, the more complicated, however you want to explain it, right? It's definitely taking advantage of the full functionality of the semantic model.
Yep.
Now, so a lot of times in my presentations, I kind of show the kind of self-service versus kind of professional BI. We have those developer tools from Rui. We have all, the DAX query view. We're adding all these cool things, but I wanted to, be clear, like you can do it either way. We're not saying you have to do it these new ways. If you want to, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I mean, you can use Power BI however you want to use it and how it gives value for you and your organization.
I'm really amazed with how your teams in general are trying to juggle with developing for pretty much business audience plus professional developers and keep it all in the same tool.
Yes.
And probably a lot of times one side is annoyed, but in the end it's all there. It's balanced, and as you said, Zoe, and Jay said, so it's not forcing you to do it. So you have an option, go left or right, and it's always a good thing to have.
Yeah, and it makes for interesting discussions, right? And yes, it might make for like people putting on the brakes to some ideas and then saying, well, we really should be doing that. Can we please rethink the strategy here? And so, yeah, it doesn't make for like smooth sailing all the time, but I think in the end, you know, after discussion, you end up in a better place. So, and let's be very clear, right? We're trying to build a tool that caters to everybody, right? We're not creating a professional version of Power BI and like the classic joke that you used to have, like standard and professional and enterprise and ultimate edition of a tool, right? Like that's not what we're trying to do. But there might be situations that we slowly disclose things to you or give you more powerful features once you're ready for it. And of course, that's also a little bit tricky. Like, how do we know you're ready, right? How do we, we don't want to be this tool that says, oh, you're not allowed to touch this yet because, you need to go through some whatever, jump through some hoops first, right? I mean, if you want to touch it. So I like to think about it like, and also with a little feature that I'm working on recently called Visual Calcs, we have the same problem. It's like, I like to think about it as the shut up, I know what I'm doing mode. It's like there can be loads of guardrails and things that help you along the way, but at some point the user might go like, really?
Yeah.
Get out of my way. I know what I'm doing. Yes, I'm making this error now. The DAX that I entered is not correct because I know that we'll be adding this later. So then, yes, now it's not correct. Yes, now there's a red squiggly there. Now you're telling me, error. I know because I'm building it the other way around, right? And that's something that we still have to like find the right balance in. So yeah, it's an interesting puzzle, an interesting challenge to work on.
Yeah, and I think Zoe made a good point mentioning that there are a lot of people around that are not allowed to use external tools.
Yeah.
And this will make their life easier for sure.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
It's one huge group, I would say.
Yeah,
Yes,
I get a lot of feedback from that. Like they're like, oh, I can actually utilize these DAX queries, DAX queries has been around for a very long time, right? It's not a new feature at all. Everything, I like it. Everything's a DAX query, right? All the visuals have DAX queries, all that kind of stuff. So now being able to kind of really tap into that. And you can even use DAX queries in Power Automate. You can write a DAX query, create another report, go to Excel, do whatever you want. I mean, these DAX queries are really, really powerful.
Yep.
It's a really great addition. So when it came out, I was playing with it, and
Good.
so it's at least few clicks less than before. So I don't need to go to external tools, open, connect, wait, and so on. Everything is there. So, and as it's still in preview, how much more can we expect? I will not ask specifics because probably Jay will start.
I was about to ask that. What's on the roadmap?
But
Zoe is wise enough to know what she can share, what she cannot share. So
and on the other hand, so why I'm asking is, I think a year ago, I was in Chicago on a conference where Jay first presented Visual Calcs. and I still cannot work on it. So Zoe, have to admit you are much
are
faster.
you trying to make Jay mad at me now? I mean,
No.
so like we have a lot of stuff planned for DAX Query View, right? But the first near term is, we're working on getting kind of the formatting a little bit. Like one of the things that's coming out really soon is right now, if you hit the format button in DAX Query View, like if we have like summarized columns with those pairs, they'll go on separate lines. We're gonna have them on the same line. Those kind of like little things like that. Fixing up any residual issues that we have. Like I have it in the Learn docs now, actually. So like if you do the code lens to update your model with a DAX formula and that has a comment in it, we actually remove all the comments, right? So that kind of stuff was like, okay, we debated whether we should even kind of push it out with that one, but because it's just comments, not your DAX formula, and I was going to be clear about that was a thing, but we're going to have that fixed pretty quickly. And once we get the code lens, then we're going to have like an update all button, right? So if you have, so then you can have that cool workflow. You can define all the measures in your model, format them, and then update them all with the new format, right? So you can kind of do that workflow. So the two things we have to have in place for that is one, we do want to remove your comments. And then the other one is the white space, like having it detect that you've added a tab or something like that, something that's not thing. And then that'll actually pop the code lens, that little superscript text that shows and says update your model, right? So we really want to kind of, those are kind of things we're having kind of in the near term. And eventually you also want to bring it to the Power BI service. So right now it's just in Power BI desktop. And then, we want to build on it, right? And so, getting some performance, indicators in there, those are all kind of further out, but absolutely. I mean, I am so excited to be working on the DAX Query View and, bringing that thing. And then, maybe we can improve like, existing DAX Query functionality to bring in more features to the DAX Query View as well. So a lot of really cool angles and ways we can go about it.
And connected to that, Christian has a question. Any plans for C# scripts?
No, but so that one we're gonna. So one of the things when I was looking at DAX Query View, I wanted it to be purely about DAX queries, right? I didn't want to make a code editor in DAX in Power BI Desktop. I think that was something that early on that I thought would be a good direction, just to keep it as DAX queries, right? So if we want to bring in additional code kind of views, like the scripting or like, the Timdal, that kind of stuff, those would be separate. Now, that said, all things can change, right? But so no, we're not thinking. Now we are bringing in a Copilot, right? I've demoed that at Build, and I've done some updates on that, right? So that is coming as well. And so that you can actually do some interesting things like write me a measure for all the numeric columns in this table, right? And it will generate a bunch of measures, right? So it's not exactly C# scripting. That it's very powerful in Tabular Editor. I really like that feature. It's really great for when I want to kind of, I got some comments on one of my blog posts that had 1,400 measures. And yes, I created a model with 1,400 measures and I used the C# scripting, right? And because I wanted to see how like Model Explorer would handle with that many measures and stuff like that. So I definitely see, why people would be asking for that one, but that's not currently on the roadmap. So just to just be clear with you, to level set expectations.
Just got me to a question I received recently, Jay. It's mostly for you. Is there a limitation in number of measures a model can handle?
I think it's only. No, I don't think there's any limit actually.
Well, I've heard about someone had 3,000. Personally, the biggest one that I had was around 1,000.
Is there? I don't think there's a hard limit. Is there?
So technically, I think it's like really high, like on the engine side. But I found when I tried to test this, I found that the highest I got was I was trying to get 100,000 in, but I managed to crash both Tabular Editor and desktop. So, but the most I got was about 20,000.
I'm not aware of any actual hard limit. I think
there is. I think I did find it at one point. It's a really extremely high, right? It's in
it
the
must
millions.
be very, very high.
Yeah.
But
and
yeah.
and that is probably just like, let's just pick a very random high number and like go very
No one
extreme.
will ever reach that.
But
Yeah.
it's in
Before you-
RAM, right? So you
Right.
are limited to hardware, right? So I'm working on my laptop. Maybe if I had a supercomputer, I could have got the 100,000 measures in. The
Because
data pane
that-
is fantastic with so many things.
Right.
Like
exactly as
it's
Zoe said, like
insane.
you're going to have more issues before you even hit that limit, right? So yeah, I mean, the same thing I once tried years ago is how much RAM can Power BI Desktop actually handle, right? There's no upper limit, but of course there's a practical limit because of the current hardware iterations, right? But if you put that on a Windows VM in Azure and you just beef it up to the biggest VM we have, which is like in the hundreds, and I don't know how far. That time I think it was 500 gigabyte or whatever of RAM. It will work just fine. There's nowhere in the code that says, oh, you can only use 64 gigabyte of RAM,
whatever,
right? Or whatever. It will just work. But practically nobody's ever going to reach that, because who in the right mind would pay for a VM to run Power BI Desktop on 512 gigabytes of RAM for an hour, right? It's just that I don't have to pay for that myself, that I tried that experiment. But so I don't think that there might be an upper limit, but it's practically you're never going to reach it that way. And then even if you do, I think it's because of hardware iterations happening, and then we can update that limit, because I don't think our code is in that sense like, oh, we can only handle this much. I think the limit is there because, well, we set some number.
Yep. Yeah, and on that, on that point too, I don't know if you've run into it, but if you do have more than kind of 500 measures in the model, we remove that quick query as well, because we are working through performance. Maybe we want to make the DAX query view as performant as possible. We do find that it starts lagging at probably around 500 to 1,000 rows, so lines. So we are working also to try and improve, so you can have those really long DAX queries if you choose to as well.
Yeah.
So now, so you guys have tried it. So what would you say you liked or didn't like about the DAX query view? Like, what were you using it for? Just to play with it, or
So basically, I was using it same as I was using on a basic functions in DAX Studio to check my queries, to optimize it lately. So pretty much optimization is number one use case, and I think, at least from my opinion, it will be, because I did looking from professional developer side. So everybody will probably continue using third-party tools for writing measures, because still Power BI Desktop is by tradition a painful experience to write a lot of DAX in it. But optimization now is a great feature from my point of view. You, Nicola?
Yeah, so I need to be honest, I'm still on DAX Studio.
Perfect.
Maybe it's a matter of habit, because I never switched from SQL Server Management Studio to Azure Data Studio, because I was accustomed to everything in SSMS. I'm still on DAX Studio, so I just tried when you release this. Looks good, but I still didn't play, didn't do any serious things in it, to be honest.
So you haven't actually played with the kind of new measure workflow. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I love it that you're basically coming out and saying I'm still stuck in SSMS. That's lovely.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
It's fine. I'm in the same boat, by the way. I forced myself to do Azure Data Studio, but I'm still like, where is this button that I used to?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I'm sure that of course, the feature is completely new, so we all need some time to get accustomed to it, and I'm sure that many of us will, by the time, use it. Maybe not to the full, like we have all the things in DAX Studio at the moment. I don't think that you will plan to replicate all the stuff, but for those. As you said, like writing measures, testing DAX, being fast, being efficient and productive, that's the main entry point for DAX view, I think.
Exactly. And so one of the things that DAX Query View, because it's in desktop and you're in your model author, you have permission to write measures and stuff like that. One of the things that kind of differentiates is the ability to kind of, see multiple measures defined in the DAX queries. The DAX queries have that ability to define measures. You can define the model measures, and then you can actually edit them and then update the model right from the DAX Query View. And so that kind of new measure workflow is one that I find interesting. I think that's a very new concept. It's kind of interesting because a lot of times DAX queries are very analogous to SQL queries, right? You're getting data. And I was thinking, there's DAX SQL doesn't exactly have like a concept of a measure, right? And having kind of that reusable, like in the database, you have defined an aggregation, right? And you can define the aggregation,
Right.
with something like that. And DAX does and has it in the DAX queries in that define. And I was like, well, this would be really cool because now you can go ahead and, if you have, I was always kind of very guilty of creating measures that reference another measure, the rest in another measure. I have this one measure. If you mess that up, you would completely
You're
wreck.
not the only one.
80% of the measures in the model would now collapse and fall down because I have this one measure and then everything else is built on top of it. So now I can actually see if I'm downstream, I can see and I can say, hey, I want to edit this measure, and it's going to show me it, and I can edit it in context of all the 10 other measures that I'm using to build that one measure. And you can edit all of them, some of them, test it, and then go ahead and update it if you'd like to. So I think that was one of the coolest things that I was excited about with the DAX Query View is having, because a lot of times when I'm clicking around, I always forget what I'm doing after the second click. So now I don't have to click around. I can see it all in one view.
And good that you can immediately save this measure into the model instead of if you do something in, for example, DAX Studio, you need to copy paste. Then.
Yep,
But
exactly.
how Jay, coming back to your baby visual calcs, how those two features will clash? So you are providing users no need for DAX, and Zoe is providing users better user interface for DAX.
I'm not saying you don't need DAX. Visual Calcs is still DAX.
He's actually created a whole bunch of new DAX functions, which is fantastic.
You need window functions, no DAX. You just need window functions.
No, you still need DAX. So, but yeah, this is going to be an interesting clash, right? Like how will this work together? And we're working through that right now. It's like how will these things come together? Can I actually define a visual calc and move it over in the DAX query view? What does that mean if I do that? Because then I step out of the visual, because visual calcs are already tied to the visual. What does it mean to edit that back in there? Can I write it back into the visual? There's interesting things, but visual calcs is not saying you don't use DAX. You still use DAX. So one of the things that we were thinking about doing is actually saying, once you copy from the performance analyzer, for example, once you copy the visual calc query with the visual calcs on it, what do I see in the DAX query view? Do I see the visual calc, or do I actually see the window function that sits underneath the visual calc? Because arguably that would be more useful because I'm now outside of the visual. So that window, that running sum or whatever visual calc thing will not work anyway because I'm not in scope of a visual anymore. I just stepped out of it. So maybe that's where we should show you the window function that sits underneath it. So then it actually turns into a measure and you can use it as a measure in your query, etc. And then store it back as a measure into the model. So I think that is how I currently think about that, closing that loop.
Exactly.
I see a lot of interesting discussions between you two going forward.
Maybe a joint session.
Yeah, we have our moments.
Okay, yeah. So we are already almost 30 minutes of our time already passed. So one question for you, Zoe. All of us already know that we are going to answer each of our guests, but still, what is your number one missing feature in Power BI?
Well, it was DAX Query View, and I just put it in, so I'm happy.
You can go to retirement now. Okay.
Come on, it must be
mine is visual calcs.
That's the best answer we ever got from someone. Really. Like, I'm done.
I'm good. I'm like, I was so excited. I was like, we wanting to put this into. As soon as I saw it, it was, you know, a hackathon one of our engineers did, and I saw it, and I was like, I want that. I want that so bad. And you know, they let me build it and put it in desktop, and I am so happy. Right? I was thinking about this morning. I was like, oh man, I've been wanting to ship this like all year. I've been wanting to do this, you know, and I've done it. And now, you know, I'm super excited for all the next iterations for it, but it is a huge milestone for me. I think it's fantastic. So
It is. I think, and the community is happy. Everybody was. I think this was one of the rare features which got unanimous support all around social networks from Power BI community. Everybody loved it.
Yeah.
And so that's
But
a real great
I
accomplishment.
want to prod Zoe a little bit more because there must be something else that she wants to do. Come on, this
I
cannot
want
be
so
it.
many things. Okay, I want so many things, and all my engineers know all the things I want because I tell them constantly. But you know, one of the things that came up in a lot of stuff that people ask for on social media, I want as well. Like, you know, duplicate a calc item. You know, copy and paste between model objects between PBX files, like all those kind of stuff, like little things, right? Those are all fantastic. A code view, right? The Timdal thing, you know, having that code view, the model, even if it's Timdal, I don't care. I mean, that stuff is amazing. Like, you know, I am so looking forward to all of those things, you know, that come in. And then also, you know, not just to, you know, love on my team. I'm super excited about visual calcs. I'm super excited about, you know, all the visual stuff that Miguel's doing. Like, you know, he put the subtitle in, he did the card stuff, all the slicer button thing. I mean, this stuff is amazing. And even like the explore data that, you know, on the service now, which is very analogous to DAX Query, just drag and drop version, right? That is super cool. I mean, I am on the product team. I'm so focused on my features. Sometimes I don't always pay attention as much as I can to all the other really cool things coming out. And I see, I'm like, oh, that is so cool, you know, and it's all amazing, right? And so it's really cool to be part of that.
I agree, and I'm wondering if there's all of this extra stuff that we're considering, right? The DAX Query View is now here. You mentioned some other potential avenues, right, for like the more pro tools. I wonder if that will add pressure, more pressure even, to start being serious about being able to unpin windows to another screen, right? That's another big one on the professional BI. Like, hey, we all have multiple screens now. At least I'm now stuck in a little phone room, so I don't have any other screens. But normally you have multiple screens. You know, it would be great if I can just take that query view and just move it out, right? Like pop it out into another screen, or like the model view, or whatever, my report, or my. I mean, Power Query is the only window that you can already move to the side, right? My expectation here is that we'll actually be very close to that point, that we'll start actively working on that, because the more stuff, the more beautiful tools Zoe and team build, the more this need will become, right? Like the higher this pressure will become, because okay, now I'm going back and forth between 4 windows. Okay, you know, what about a 5 now? Oh, you know, maybe we should just allow people to move them out, and then you know, it feels more like a professional BI window, as a BI tool as well, right?
Exactly.
I mean, Visual Studio doesn't exist without the ability to be able to just move things around and out of the UI. So something like that could be great as a potential investment. So yeah,
I
and
vote
Jay
for that
might,
one.
and Jay might not know, but it's something that we're actually seriously looking
I
at.
know.
Right?
I was just
So,
being cagey about
but
it.
yeah,
I know
but it is something that obviously I want as well. And it's something that we are seriously looking at. If we can, you know, we have a lot of competing priorities right now, try to get things out, but it is definitely always on the burner, right?
Yep.
It's something we absolutely want to do, just like your dark mode, all that kind of stuff, right? And so all these cool things, you know, trust me, we hear you guys. We want all of these too, but we only have so many engineers.
We know.
Exactly. So, you know, so sometimes we have to pick and choose, but it is absolutely something that you know, I'm looking at, like even just the designs for all that kind of stuff, and seeing how that would work. And
When
try
we
to
are
get that out
cherry
if we can.
picking, Nicola, what's your next wish?
Oof. This one, I like this idea of splitting windows, to have a possibility to have like okay, DAX view, for example, and report view, or I don't know, model view and report view at the same time visible, so I don't need to switch between them. That's I don't know. When I'm talking about it, it sounds like a easy thing to do, but probably it's not. But that's
No.
something that can be really a lifesaver.
It's not
for
easy to
many
do,
people.
but I think
Yeah, I can imagine.
if you solve it the right way, you can apply this in so many areas. I mean, for example, you have the show as table, right? So you have the visual in the table. Loads of people actually, for example, for accessibility reasons, want to split that table out so they can do better comparison and not look at like a tiny part, right? The ability to take a table out and move it to a different screen. For visual calcs, same thing. Take the visual matrix that will be there at the bottom and move it to a different screen so I can work with it in a bigger real estate. So, right, once we start building that towards that kind of goal, that we need to build it at that foundational level so you can reuse that trick over and over and over again, right? So not just for the query view, not just for the model view, we need to build it in the foundation. So that's why it takes longer than you might think.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so although we are doing it 9 months as you investigated, Jay, we never managed to be on time.
I'll take the blame for that one. Sorry.
Still a lot to learn for us. No, I think nobody's complaining. We are having fun here, and want to thank you, Zoe, for joining us and for releasing together with your entire team this great feature. And I'm just wondering, for I don't know, Nicola, beginning of next year, when Jay releases visual calcs, who will be our guest?
We need to clone Jay. One of them will be co-host. One will be our guest.
I'm
You can
pretty
just have
sure
a
with
hat.
two laptops.
You can just have a hat you can put on and take off.
Yeah.
You know?
And then we will ask this one with the hat. What is his number one missing feature? Yeah.
I was thinking of having two laptops with like two webcams, and I could just turn
There
this
you go.
way. I mean, anyway, we'll figure that one out.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Awesome.
Thank
Well,
you, Zoe.
so
Thanks
much,
from
Zoe,
my side
your
as well,
work.
and thank you everyone for joining and spending your time with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks all. Bye-bye.